What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another podcast. This is Mike Ivanov with Mindset Mutiny. What's happening? So Sunday afternoon, 3:48 p.m. Still got some meal prep to do, but I've been studying all day, been reading, been journaling. It's been fun. But to get started, I want to talk about something. Somebody, actually, that is... that's close to me through someone that is very important in my life. But I've been watching her grow her art business, and it's been really amazing to watch. And, you know, we've had some small, brief conversations about it. But before I get started, I want you to get on there and follow her. It is jac.of.all.trades_nh. So I was on a trip with my buddy Mike, and Jackie is his girlfriend, and she's a very talented artist. And we were on the beach, and she came down with her painting supplies, I guess is what we'll call it, and a little easel, and just started banging out, you know, some scenery. And did it in a record time, you know. So I've painted in the past. Of course, my paintings aren't as beautiful as hers, nor are they of close subject matter. But, you know, I just love painting, and I love seeing others paint. So we talked a little bit about it. But I kind of can see that she has a real talent for it. You know, things would take me a long time to paint. She'd be able to bang them out pretty quick. So that was, you know, back in March. Saw her doing that, obviously encouraged her to continue to do it. And, you know, she brought up a good point to me. She's like, well, I don't want it to ruin how much I love it, right? Like, and I could totally get that, because anytime you turn, sometimes, I guess, when you turn one of your passions or something you do to relax into a business, it can kind of ruin it. But she's got such good skill for it that, you know, I just don't see how she can't, you know, go and do something with it. You know, even something that, you know, turns into a full-time thing. So anyway, fast forward to now, you know, her socials are looking really good. I was talking about it Friday night with her. You know, her social media is excellent. You got to get on there, check it out. Some beautiful paintings, some how-tos, some instructionals, just some feel-good stuff, to be honest. But what's really cool, and what I'm super excited to share, is that a few days ago, I was invited to go see her art at a gallery. And I was like, I'm not missing that for the world, right? Like, it was Friday night, and luckily everything lined up. You know, typically Friday night is my jiu-jitsu night. And, you know how important that is to me, but I'm on a bit of a rest period here. Not doctor's ordered, but close enough, and we'll get into that. But I was able to get up to Dover, New Hampshire on Friday night to go to an art gallery to see one of her paintings on display. And I got to tell you, it was on display with paintings that were a few $1,000s. So I was pretty stoked to see that. I walked in, really good vibe, pictures on both sides of the gallery. It was a long, kind of skinny gallery, you know, so it wasn't super wide, but it was longer. Good amount of folks in there. She was in there as well with her art and a couple different artists. But her art looked beautiful on the wall. And again, like I said, it was amongst some amazing, amazing artists, some amazing paintings. And it was one of those things where me seeing it, I was like, you know what? She's fucking legit now. Like, this is a big deal. And what's so cool about that is that we all kind of run into these similar things. And we were kind of talking about it briefly, and I'd love to talk to her more about it in depth, but you got to put that out to the world. You know, like, even when I was, you know, first thinking about starting my coaching, you know, business, I was super self-conscious about it. And I didn't want to, like, tell anybody about it. But if I didn't tell anybody about it, how the heck was I going to be able to get anybody that, you know, wanted to come work with me, right? So I talked to her a little bit about that, and she's like, yeah, you know what? I finally decided, like, fuck it. I'm putting my art out there. I'm showing the world. I'm putting out an offer, like, this stuff's for sale. I can do commissioned photos for you or whatever. I mean, she did a beautiful painting for my wife. My wife has a special place in her heart up at Winnipesaukee. It's actually Lake Wentworth, but it's right up there near Winnipesaukee. She had Jackie paint a beautiful lake photo and added in, added in some other things, a couple little kids on a surfboard, kind of paddleboarding, and those are people that are special in our life, so those had to be added in. But I thought it even was Jackie's idea to add that in. But anyway, super talented. If you get a chance, go over, follow her. She can paint you whatever you need. Probably do some gifts for you for Christmas. People love that. Anyway, so finally puts herself out there, telling people where she's going, what she's doing. And I'm so proud of her because that's a huge step for people. It was, and I only know how big of a step it was because I had to confront it myself, and I've been hiding from, what I wanted to put out there for a long time. And even sometimes now I'll post stuff and I'll be like, I feel self-conscious about it. I'm like, you know what, dude, what the fuck? Why you feel that way? Like, who cares what people think? Because you know what, for every person that's judging you, there's 5 other people that want to participate, or love what you're doing or support you. Just because they're not up there telling you every day doesn't mean they're not watching from the background somewhere. But yeah, so she put herself out there. Now she's in an art gallery with major artists, and I'm just so excited to see it. It was such a huge fucking win. I want to share it today. I remember driving home Friday night, just totally stoked about it, talking about my wife, and I'm talking to my wife about it. And I'm like, you know what? Like, dude, Jackie put herself out there, doing what she loves. She ends up in this gallery, which is a huge step outside her comfort zone. And, her social media is looking great. She's like really taking a run at it. And I'm just really proud of her. And I share it today because, this is the type of shit that, I've been talking about for people. Like, I want people to go outside their comfort zone, and then to see somebody close to me doing that and then being successful in a short amount of time with it, like, just shows that it's possible. It's the proof, right? So I hope that you guys hear that and you pursue something that you've been putting off. I know other guys that are trying to do other things that, have dreams, but they just never take that leap. And, fucking hats off. Jackie's taking the leap, and you guys got to go check it out. So, yeah, really proud of her. And it's just something I want to start off with because that was my Friday night, and was super stoked to be there. And love seeing her win. So, yeah, stay tuned. But, yeah, make sure you get on there and get her a follow. So that brings me to now, right? Saturday was a nice day. Spent some time at the beach with my wife trying to relax. But what I didn't realize is it's ragweed season. So I am having quite a time right now. So I'm, deathly allergic to trees and grass. And, my favorite activities happen to be outside. So as you could imagine, having a little bit of an issue today. So ragweed's blooming. It's the beginning of August, and it feels like I've got, a head cold from, from what do you think? Maybe December or January season when that comes around. But we'll see how it goes. Just one more little challenge to get through. Here I am complaining about fucking allergies. But anyway, I had a great restful day at the beach, and I say great restful day, but it was hard as fuck. So I'm on day 6 of, no strenuous activity, and trying to really rest. And I can tell you that has been fucking hell. And the only reason I'm doing it is Monday after jiu-jitsu, I was telling Coach Dave a little bit about my status, and I think he listens to the podcast a little bit here and there. But I was talking about kind of my recovery, my race coming up, and he just looks at me. He's like, dude, don't do a fucking thing from right now till Monday at 4:20 p.m. And it was nice to hear that because it was like I was looking for permission to rest. And I respect his opinion, and he's been really putting in a lot of time helping me learn jiu-jitsu, which has been unbelievable, and I'm very thankful for that. Dave's a purple belt. He's very talented in the way that he teaches I really respond to it. So anyway, he tells me to rest. I'm going to listen. And he knows the struggle of resting. He's been on a similar path, and he's obviously pursuing other things in his life as well that require rest. So he told me, I listened, and here we are, day 6. And I got to fucking tell you, I'm super excited to get back tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, 4:20 p.m., some jiu-jitsu, get back on the path. But for me, it's been a real challenge, sitting around resting. And I think the biggest problem is I've never practiced this. And we'll get into a little bit more about why I say practice it, because it is a skill, and I've learned that, and I'll share why. But it's just been hard. In fact, I'm probably not the nicest or funnest person to be around when I'm resting, because I'm lost. And this rest is a little bit different than what it will look like in the future, because this rest is a catch-up. This is from, if you've listened to the last couple episodes, this is from some burnout that I've been dealing with. But I can tell you, this small rest period, my weight has finally stopped fluctuating. I know that I talked about there being some major fluctuations in weight, all the way from 210 all the way down to 203 in a day. So we'll talk about that a little bit further on here. But anyway, I'm on a rest period. I need to practice and get better at it. And it is a huge part of my consistency and my, I wouldn't say consistency isn't, what would be the word? My longevity, right? So I have to get better at resting if I want to be able to do what I'm doing for a long time. So that's why it's so important. And I've neglected it. I have talked all sorts of shit about it. I have dismissed it around every corner. But the universe is putting a lesson in front of me, and it's going to make me fucking learn whether I want to learn it or not. So I have been very diligent about trying to be present. I have tried to escape from my phone, which I will tell you, resting is not scrolling on your cell phone. No matter what. In fact, it makes it worse. Feel like a crack addict when I have my phone in my hand, and I just need to get better at staying away from it. So I bought a lockbox. I might have mentioned this, where I lock my phone up in it, put it on a timer, and then I can't have access to it. And I know that that's not always the best way, but I would say most all of us don't have enough self-control to stay away from our phones. There are a select few that can, but for me, I just know that that's one of my weak points, so I try to put some things in place to keep that thing away from me. So I've been ramping up the sleep. Friday night and Saturday night, I got 12 hours of sleep, which has been helping me recover here, and it's been making me realize that I am undersleeping, even though it's been about 7 hours and 45 minutes to about 8 hours and a quarter. I feel that now I need to ramp it up to maybe 9 or 10, and then try to shoot for 12 on the weekends. Now, again, you may be wondering, like, 12, what are you thinking? LeBron James sleeps 12 hours a day, and I'm not LeBron James, okay? I totally fucking get that. But he's a high-performance athlete. And if I want to be able to do many different things, mentally, physically, emotionally, all these different things, if I want to live my best life, I want to be able to show up for everybody around me, and be able to raise the energy in the room and help people build better inner excellence of their own, then I need sleep, period. And I just need to get better at it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I will tell you, I'm 27 days out from that 20-mile trail race. And in the current moment, I feel unprepared. Now, the current moment is I haven't run since Wednesday of not last week, but the previous week. So what happens with that is you start to, and this is all in your head, just so you know, but you start to wonder, oh man, like a week and a half has gone by. Am I still going to be able to run like good? Am I still going to be able to run that mileage? Am I still going to like feel pretty good after a 10-mile run, or is it going to be super hard? And then, oh my God, what am I going to have to do? How am I going to build back in, whatever 3 weeks that's coming up? That's all mental bullshit. And what happens is that creeps in like when you are resting. For some reason, the mind, at least my mind, likes to tell me when I'm resting, I'm not actually moving forward. In fact, I'm going backwards. But I have been studying rest for the last week because with anything that I'm not good at, I study it, try to understand it, try to become better at it, right? Which is something that anybody can do, right? I'm not special in that regard. I'm definitely not the smartest guy around, but what I do realize is that when I'm not good at something, I have the ability to study it and become better at it and then add it to my game and then just put it in my mind, and my mind will know how to use it. So as you add information to your mind, you start to look at the world a little differently. Your perception changes. So I figure if I start to study how to rest and start to look at how others that are great rest and look at all kind of the metrics on that, the data doesn't lie, right? I will be able to last longer, right? I'll be able to go harder for a longer period of time. I will eventually require less rest than I do now. But again, it's all about optimizing. But I'm not going to sit here and go through all this bullshit I've been going through for the last couple of weeks as I've been documenting on the podcast and not learn, right? I think that's one of the biggest things where people make mistakes is they go through these things, they get out the other side, and they didn't fucking learn anything. And, I look at it like this was a loss, right? I fell off my training plan because I became exhausted or ran into some burnout, and whether that burnout happened because of a mental load or a physical load, I can't really differentiate because both of the loads are quite heavy. But regardless, I could just rest, come out the other side, keep moving, learn nothing. Or I could rest, take it as a loss, because every loss you learn from, right? You don't really learn from wins like you learn from a loss. And I just look at this as a loss because I had a 14-week training plan that I wanted to stick to, and 2 weeks of it blew up. Which, hey, listen, I guess, 12 out of 14 isn't a bad average. And again, like I've mentioned before, I'm not a mathematician, but you guys can do the math. 12 out of 14 isn't too terrible. Of course, I want a 14 out of 14. So I am going to study. And I've been studying rest. I've been reading an excellent book that I mentioned, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But the biggest thing for me is I am just starting to doubt myself a little bit about this race coming up. It's 20 miles on a trail. I've never run more than, let's say, probably 10 miles on a 100% designated trail. Now I've done, some hybrid situations where I've run on the street, and on the trail for a total of 15 miles, but mostly the trail has never been more than, I'd say 10 miles is probably the tops on an absolute 100% trail race. And I don't know any of the elevation changes. I don't know what the terrain looks like. Are there a lot of roots? Is it more of a, easy gravel run? I mean, I know nothing about it. So then there's that insecurity about not knowing what's actually to come, right? So there's a little bit of doubt because I haven't done it before. Then there's a little insecurity that, I don't know what to expect. And then there's some fear, right? Where, oh man, I haven't trained as much as I should. I'm already dealing with a level of burnout. Like, what happens if I blow up in the race? What happens if my fueling isn't right? What happens if my stomach flips on me? Like, all this fucking shit's going through my head. And really, it's all a waste of energy. And it's all completely normal. It's all things to expect, right? With anything that a human being does that is, more than what's, in their comfort zone, you always get these doubts, fears, and these insecurities. Now, what's important is I'm able to put them into words, right, and tell you what I'm struggling with about the event. Most people can't tell you. They'll just sit there in silence in their own head, breaking themselves down, just worrying about this event, whatever it may be, right? Whether it's going to an art gallery for an art show, and it's your first time, whether it's running a 20-mile race, whether it's doing a speech in front of 6,000 people, whether it's, getting your first coaching client, whatever that is, right? That's always scary. There's always some doubt, fear, and insecurity that's involved, okay? I need you all to understand that it's how you respond, okay, that is the most important. So all I'm going to respond with is I know no matter what, I will finish that 20 miles. No matter what. Even if I have to crawl a mile. I know that I will do that. I trust myself enough to know that I'm going to complete it. Now, yeah, I wanted a great time. All right, well, you know what? Get over yourself. Put your fucking ego away. And whatever the time is, right? You put in the training as much as you can. You go out there and you have fun. All right? You go out there, you have fun. Because if you're not having fun, you're not performing at your best. All right? I've known that over the years in any sort of thing that I've taken on, whether it was running, whether it was lifting, jiu-jitsu, whether it was playing high-level junior hockey. When I was having fun, I would play my best, no matter what. When I'm riding my bike and I'm not forcing it and I'm just out there having fun, I become one with the bike. And it just flows. Everything is perfect. It's effortless. When you sit there and you force it is when you have a problem. So right now, I'm forcing it. Right? And I'm overanalyzing it. So all I got to do over the next 3 to 4 weeks, eat right, turn jiu-jitsu down to 1 day a week instead of 2, all right? And just start putting on some miles, right? Just start having a little more fun. Go out for a 2-mile run instead of 5, right? Instead of a 10-mile run, maybe I do 2 5-mile runs, right? So somebody gave me some good advice a while back. I just have a hard time listening to it. But it was from a guy who does Ironmans. And he said, Mike, just run so you can run tomorrow. And, yeah, I've refused to ever take that advice. Typically, I'll go blow myself up and run 10 whatever miles and then be sore the next day, can't run the next day, and then tired the day after that, and then I run 2 days later, right? So run so that you can run tomorrow. So it means like, hey, Tuesday I'll do a 2-mile. Wednesday I'll do like a 5 to 6 mile. Wednesday, I'll do maybe another 4 miles, and then I'll save some miles for the weekend. And they just have to be easy miles, okay? So I don't break the body during this time of training. So now that I'm done droning on about that, we can kind of move on to something else that I'm doing in this time of rest. And it's really important, actually. It's a huge step, and it's nutrition. So whenever you're down on energy or you're not recovering or anything like that, like that's a flag, right? And you need to like go back and recheck all your processes and find out, like, did I fall off of my fueling? Did I fall off of my nutrition? Like as far as what I'm eating, did I fall off on my sleep? Like what does everything look like, right? You got to go back and double check everything. So when you do that, you can either run through it yourself or you can bring in professionals around you. Okay. So I had an opportunity to have, I'm sure I've talked about Ethan before on this podcast, right? He's a guy I do jiu-jitsu with. He's coaching me as well. We have to do some one-on-one where he kind of helps me build my game. And as a white belt, a one-stripe white belt, he can beat my ass all over the fucking place, but the way he teaches really resonates with me, and his intensity and his passion for the sport, as well as his passion for collecting knowledge, really stands out to me. So this young man, I'm impressed by him. So he mentioned to me when we had met one-on-one, kind of just to talk about our stories, he'd mentioned that he builds, nutrition and workout plans for guys that are, trying to fight, headed towards the UFC, right? So guys that are in the fighting world that are trying to cut weight, and he designs a program where they can do it safely. And if anybody on this podcast listening here watches or follows fighting, you'll know that it's super dangerous to cut weight, and it's not all of it's done the right way. And so he's very passionate about doing it the right way. Just like he's very passionate about doing it the right way with everything else in his life too, and that's what I love about him. But he sent me this nutrition and workout plan, and I wanted to just touch on a couple things that stuck out to me that I think are very, very important to share with everybody here. But the reason I reached out to him is, I'm always learning, right? Yeah, I've been tracking my food for a long time, all my macros and really using that to kind of bring some data to the decision making, and trying to help myself understand, where my fueling is at. So as of today, 2,174 days I've been tracking my food. I could tell you everything I've eaten for the last 2,174 days. But that doesn't mean all of those days I've been doing the right things. Okay. So I needed somebody that knows what they're doing to look into this. Now, Ethan, goes to college for this. This is his passion. This is something that he's studying, and I think he could have his entirely own business doing something like this, because after looking at the document that he sent me, I'm very excited to get forward on it, but also to kind of share something with you guys. A really cool point that totally I missed, and that's the whole point of this. You got to bring somebody else in to view what's going on, right? They are the measuring stick, all right? The problem with being a human is that you try to things are all sorts of crooked in your life, but you don't have a measuring stick to put it up against to determine that it's crooked, right? Because we always rationalize all this shit in our heads. We always try to make excuses, and we don't even pick up on it. But I could be doing something wrong in my meal or in my calorie count or in my macronutrients that he's going to look at and say, this doesn't measure up right, because he's holding up the measuring stick, right? And he's going to say, all right, yeah, put that up there. Oop, nope. Mike, that's crooked. Protein intake is too low. Carbohydrate intake is too low for how much you're exercising. You're going to run into these energy problems, blah, 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 right? So I brought in somebody with a measuring stick, and he did an amazing job. 14-page report. Super impressed. I'm going to touch on a couple things real quick with you. My BMR, okay, which is what I would say is the main way to look at your metabolic rate, right? It's what it is. It's your metabolic rate, right? And you guys can go on there and figure out your own metabolic rate. Just go on and type in BMR calculator, and you can kind of look and see how many calories your body will burn without exercise, doing all its basic body functions, keeping you alive, right? And then you can look at how many times you exercise per week to determine how much more calorie, based on the activity level, right? So for me, and the activity level that I gave him to run his analysis on comes in at 2,877 calories, and that's with exercise 4 to 5 times a week. So 2,877 calories is what I'm burning. If I'm eating more than that, then I'm gonna be in a calorie, the opposite of a calorie deficit, right? So I don't know why the word escaped me, but I'm over. If I eat over 2,877, I run the risk of gaining weight. If I eat under 2,877, I can get myself into a calorie deficit, right? And I think after you hear this, we're going to be looking to get into a deficit of 200 to 500 calories below maintenance, right? So maintenance calories are about 2,877 based on my BMR, and I want to try to get 200 to 500 below that, right? Because what I'm about to tell you is the importance of getting below that. So Ethan's diagnosis was that his primary piece of advice in terms of my recovery is to enter a small caloric deficit. All right. This is very important. And it's stated here, you are extremely active, and most of your activity stems from high impact exercises like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and running. Okay, both of those exercises are very traumatic to the body, okay? So doing such high impact activity while your body is carrying around unnecessary mass will simply cause greater strain on the joints, ligaments, muscle tissue, and will cause heightened inflammation as well as additional tax on your bodies physically that you have to recover from on top of your training load. All right, I want to read that again because nobody has ever expressed that to me in anything that I've ever read or anything that I've ever talked with anybody about. Nobody's ever brought that up. So I'm going to read it again because it's very important. And this is the importance of having a professional, somebody that is very passionate about what they do, look at what's going on in your program, right? So doing such high impact activity while your body is carrying around unnecessary mass will simply cause greater strain on joints, ligaments, muscle tissue, and will cause heightened inflammation as well as an additional tax on your body physically that you'll have to recover from on top of your training load. All right, so what he's saying is I need to lose weight all right, to lower the tax on my body's joints, my ligaments, my muscle tissues, all right? Because running around with additional weight on you is causing a heightened level of inflammation, which the body first has to recover from, on top of whatever I'm doing during the training. So at 205 pounds, when I'm out running 10 miles, think about dragging 205 pounds around instead of dragging 190 or 185 pounds around. Right? So that's the whole point, is that I need to get lighter to cause less strain on the body to then require less recovery, if that makes sense, right? It makes sense to me, and that's why I'm sharing it, because I'd say it's pretty fucking enlightening, all right? So just to run through the facts, right? 10 pounds. So if I went from 205 to 195, all right, that's 40 pounds less load on my knees per step, okay? So each 1 pound of body weight, if you remove 1 pound of body weight, it's less 4 pounds of load on the knee. So 10 pounds of body weight is less 40 pounds of load on the joints. So I do about 10,000 steps a day, right? On days I don't like run a long way. All right, if I run a long way, I can do 20,000 steps, whatever. But if I do 10,000 steps a day, that's 400,000 pounds less cumulative load on the knees. 400,000 pounds less cumulative load. So really, what's going on here is I need to make my body more efficient. I need to drop some fucking weight, all right? And I'm going to do that. This is unbelievable, man. As soon as I read this, and this is on the first fucking page, okay? As soon as I read this, I'm like, boom, fuck, I've been missing that, right? We all want to add weight, right? We think, oh, I'm building muscle, I'm adding weight, this and that. But you know what, dude? Everything I'm doing, the weight is like is a hindrance, all right? I can't move as quickly. I can't react as fast. It's taking me longer to recover. So if you have two people doing the same thing, one guy weighs 185, the other guy weighs 205, the guy who weighs 185 is probably going to recover quicker and get more gains from his training load than I am, because I'm busy healing damage, actual physical damage to the body, right? Because I have that much more force on my joints. So right now the mission is to eat whole foods and get down to weight, right, man? Maybe I should be putting a target weight of 185. I'm going to be fucking shredded if I get to that point, but I know that I'll be moving easier. I'll be able to recover faster. And that's just something I wanted to share, because I'm super stoked about it, man. Like, Ethan crushed it, dude. And and all you need to hear that. So if you want to calculate your BMR, go on, hit up a BMR calculator on the internet. Simple Google search, put in your weight, your age, your sex, and it'll tell you. And then you take a look at how many times you exercise, and you'll see kind of how many calories you would eat at maintenance, right? So that is the next step for anybody to understand how to lose weight from a standpoint of science, right? There's so many people that are trying to lose weight, but they couldn't tell you what their BMR is. They couldn't tell you how many calories they eat in a day. If you don't know that information, you're swimming upstream and you'll never be successful, okay? So get down to the facts. I've been doing all this stuff for a long time. I've been pursuing my fitness for a long time, and I just learned something new today, all right? Ethan dropped some knowledge, and I'll forever remember it, and I'll be passing it on to everybody I know, but it helps me understand exactly where I'm struggling and what I need to do to be able to provide my body, all right, the ability to deliver what I'm asking it to do, all right? So I guess for today, 8:10 at 4:21 p.m., we're going to go see if we can lose 10 pounds. And we're going to do it by deducting 200 to 500 calories a day, which is very sustainable. But yeah, I'll let you guys know how that journey goes. So 205 pounds right now, and we will see where we get to by the end of the week. All it is discipline, putting the right food in, counting the calories, and not giving into temptation. So hell yeah, man. Appreciate Ethan for sending this forward to me. This is going to be a big difference maker. So what I've been doing, in addition to looking at all of these metrics that I live by, right, as I mentioned in the previous podcast that a guy named Matt gave me this book called Rest. And I told you it was at that coffee shop that I mentioned that I go to, and I should have read the book sooner, but this week I cracked this book open. I think I started it maybe Thursday. I'm already on page 67. There is so much great information in here. I recommend anybody read it because it's not just for people like me, but it can be for people that are overworking themselves in a corporate environment, or entrepreneurs that are out there, working all day long every day. That could benefit from reading this book. It's called Rest, and it's by Alex Pang, P-A-N-G. And I just want to read quickly one paragraph here that was very impactful for me, and then we'll get into it a little bit more, a little deeper discussion on this book. But again, this book has just been something eye-opening for me. So let me read you a page here. It says, "You cannot work well without resting well. Some of history's most creative people whose achievements in art and science and literature are legendary, took rest very seriously. They found that in order to realize their ambitions, to do the kind of work they wanted to, they needed rest. The right kinds of rest would restore their energy while allowing their muse, that mysterious part of their minds that helps drive the creative process to keep going. So work and rest aren't opposites like black and white or good and evil. They're more like different points on life's wave. You can't have a crest without a trough. You can't have the highs without the lows. Neither can exist without the other. We underestimate how much good, serious rest can do us. And we also underestimate how much we can do if we take rest seriously." So I read that and immediately grabbed my highlighter, because a lot of the things they're saying in here are very important to me, right? I want to do more. And they say we underestimate how much we can do if we can take rest seriously, right? So if I can rest better, in theory, I can do more than what I'm doing now. Which I know sounds kind of crazy sitting here talking about how much of a struggle it's been. But, the brain you got to acknowledge that, right? Like, I could do more if I rested better, which means rest is a fucking skill. And it talks about this in this book, that any skill you can practice and become better at. And they've identified that rest is actually a skill. So for me, this is the next thing. This is the next thing that I need to pursue. And you know what? This book, hey, listen, I got 300 and something pages here to pursue it with, right? Study this shit. I recommend it. Everybody read when they fall short on something. Go find something to read. You fall short on something, go find something that's exactly related to the subject. Okay? Reading has changed my life. So I need rest. I need to figure out how to get better. I find a book that talks about how to get better at rest. I don't see how it gets any more complicated. All right. And anything else that you want to say is just an excuse. Right. So this guy, Pang, he came out with the 10 Commandments of Rest. And I just want to highlight them for you because some of them make me chuckle and some I'm really shitty at. Especially the first one. So the first one of the 10 Commandments of Rest, and just so you know, he compiled this over many years, studying Nobel Prize winners, best-selling authors, some of the greatest people in history. And what they all had in common was that they were very good at resting. And through compiling all of their routines and studying them, he came out with these 10 Commandments of Rest. So the first one, number one, take rest seriously. So he talks about how hard work and deliberate rest are partners, each one sustaining the other. So rest helps restore our mental and physical well-being. It gives us energy, helps us focus, helps us continue building resilience, and helps us be more productive. And what I thought was very interesting is he mentioned that downtime, Well, so when you're resting is also when we're most likely to have our best ideas, when we're most likely to be the most inspired, and we have creative breakthroughs. So anybody out there that's building a business, that's trying to solve a problem, it can come to you in your downtime. And I think that's where we all go wrong. We all think you have to be sitting there focusing, grinding, all this fucking bullshit. But hey, listen, you know what? The subconscious is at work when you're resting. So I just need to have more faith in the process, because I will tell you, I am very interested in new ideas. I'm very interested in new inspiration, and I'm extremely interested in creative breakthroughs. So if downtime can give me that, then I need to schedule in downtime. I need to stop buying in to, if I'm not fucking out there grinding, suffering, that I'm not improving. All right, that's not true. When I'm resting, I'm improving. Just like Ethan told me a while back that resting is part of the training. I've always thought that resting wasn't part of the training at all. In fact, resting is something you shouldn't do because it's just going to stop you from training. It's going to stop you from progressing, but it's not. It's part of the training, okay? We cannot treat rest as something that we'll do when we're finished everything else. We have to make time for it. Commandment number 2 is focus. It's something that we all struggle with due to the devices in our hands, due to the multiple interruptions in our offices, and so on. So there is a fact out there that says most knowledge workers, right, lose 2 to 4 hours each day to disruption, unnecessary meetings, and technology-driven interruptions. I cannot tell you how many unnecessary meetings I sit in every single day. And I can't even tell you what I could do with that time if I didn't have to sit in those meetings. And it's a cultural problem. You can't, all companies are running into this issue, and depending on what generation you're from, some love meetings and some hate them. So it depends, right? So we've got a bunch of different generations in the workforce right now. We've got a generation exiting, we've got a generation entering, and we've had a generation that's had their ass whooped in the workforce for quite some time. Those millennials, which I am. And, we have our own way of thinking, and doesn't mean it's right. It's just different. But one thing is focus is very important. And honestly, it will make or break you. Commandment number 3, layer work and rest. So super creative people alternate periods of intense work with periods of deliberate rest. So by resting immediately after a period of focused work, you can give your subconscious mind time to discover solutions to problems that are eluding your conscious effort. So when your conscious mind can't solve something, it kicks it to the subconscious. You just have to have faith in that area of your mind, because you can't control it, and a lot of scientists don't understand how it actually works. And that's a fact. But what I like to do is when I go to bed, if there's something that I'm trying to solve or I want to be more creative on, I'll think about it right before I fall asleep. And I know that you don't really want to be thinking about things when you fall asleep, but I'll just flash it into my head right as I'm kind of counting down before I fall asleep, and then I let the mind kind of do its thing. You have to just put things in the mind. It's a tool, right? Super powerful tool. We don't very little understanding of what actually happens up there. But I have realized that I got to put information into this tool and have faith that the tool will do its job, right? So the subconscious is doing a ton of things, rearranging thoughts. It's understanding memories. All of these things are happening behind the scenes. You have to have faith in the tool. So I always tell people, like, when you're reading, you don't have to worry about, am I learning all of it, right? Because I kind of read it, and I don't want to say reading a page and not knowing what you read is a whole different story, but reading a page, reading what you're seeing all the words, you're understanding it, but you don't have to focus on it after you're done reading the page. Let the mind kind of absorb it and let it do its job, and it's going to put the information where it needs to be. It's going to pull the information when it's necessary. It's going to use that new information, that new perspective to make better decisions, okay? That goes with anything. So just start loading up the mind with knowledge and just have faith that it's going to deliver. You're making the tool better every time you put something in, all right? So back to layering work and rest. I find it's best for me to like go on like 1 hour tears. Like I'll work for an hour and then I need to take like a 20-minute break. Get up, go for a walk, go talk to somebody, go sit in somebody's office, have a, shoot the shit, whatever, and then get back to intense work. I cannot work for 6 hours straight. And to be honest with you, I would tell you that I think 4 hours of deep work is all that's really necessary, because a lot of people that are sitting in an office from 8 to 10 hours, we talked about all the distraction, right? We talked about the 2 to 4 hours of distraction during the day. If you can just focus deep work 4 to 5 hours, you probably can get done more than somebody that sits in their office for 10 hours fucking lollygagging, right? So just a thought for everybody out there. Be intentional with your time, layer the work, get up go for a walk. I mean, these are all things that people can do, right? Nobody is going to tell you can't get up from your desk and go for a little walk, and when you come back and you crush it when you get back. So commandment number 4, get an early start. I feel like that's kind of an obvious one. I hate getting up early, but now it's just been a part of me, so I don't know any better now. So, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. is typical waking time for me. Whatever it is for you, if you need to get up a little bit early, get to that. But that is a big one. Getting up early to get your day started. Energy is high. And it also helps you go to bed, right? If you get up really late in the day, if you get up at noontime, how the fuck are you going to go to bed at like 9 o'clock when you're supposed to be going to bed? You're not. So very important. Get up early, get started, hit it hard, and set yourself up for a good night's sleep. Commandment number 5 is detach from work. Paying states, they call it detachment. And more of it you have, the more restorative your downtime will be. I got to give my dad credit here. As a kid, I used to watch him. My dad owned his own business. He had a construction company. He's retired now, which I'm proud of him for, because it's not an easy task. And I think he retired at 59 or 60. Not really great with ages. Devin would know exactly how old he was when he retired, but he was always very good at detaching from work. And if I watch his routine, I've never talked to him about this, but I do physical things to like force detachment, right? So like I will put my work phone in a certain place where I don't have to see it. I will mentally, as I'm leaving the office, disengage. The work will be there, okay? There's no need to drag it with you, because the less you detach, the worse you perform, right? So my dad, when he would get home from work, and this is somebody that owns their own business, so anybody that owns their own business knows that it's like you're pretty much turned on all the time. And it's super difficult to balance all of that, right? He would come home, he'd put his cell phone, first of all, he'd shut his cell phone off, which is just fucking absurd to most people, right? Especially if you own your own business. But he'd shut his cell phone off and he'd put it in the fucking cooler, So he had this like old school igloo cooler with kind of the flip top on it, and it had like a pink button and like a teal green base, like that textured base that the igloos had. And he'd put it in there, and he wouldn't fucking turn it on until he got back in the truck and started driving to work. And I feel like for him, that was that mental signal that like, hey, we're detaching. And he never talked about work. In fact, when I used to work for him during the summer, I'd come home and talk about work. My mother would be sitting across from the kitchen table, and I started talking about work, and my father would look at me, and he'd give me a look a couple times. And then one time he pulled me aside and he's like, hey, listen, if you're going to fucking talk about work at the dinner table or when we're not at work, you're not going to be fucking working for me any longer. And he said it in the most loving way, but I got the fucking point, right? You need to detach. You cannot bring the shit home with you. All right. I talk to my partner very little about work. I try to keep those worlds separate. If I'm having a bad day and I'm really pissed off about something, having a hard time processing it, I'll probably talk to her about it. She always gives great advice. And obviously she wants to know, what's affecting my mood. But the more that I detach from work, the happier I am. And I don't want to get this twisted. Detaching from work doesn't mean that you're not like fully bought the fuck in. Doesn't mean that you're not crushing it more than other people that are dragging it home with them. It just means that in order to rest, in order to be fresh, in order to be able to deliver the best work possible that you can, you have to detach. You can't be dragging this thing around like a fucking lead weight. You have to leave it where it is. You will come back to it. All right? People already give 50, 60, 80 hours of their life to their job and their work. Well, fucking detach. At least detach from it for a little bit and recover. The mind needs time to rest. Commandment number 6, detach from devices. So, yeah, we all know what that struggle is. I would say that's probably one of the worst drugs out there right now. And I can tell you, came across a fact that said that watching short videos is worse than drinking alcohol for the mind. Thought that was kind of interesting. I posted it and I got a lot of comments about it. So obviously, it's something that we're all trying to do. We're all trying to get away from our phone, but some of us have different levels of discipline. And I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, I lock mine up. So maybe some of you need to start doing that. But this is in Pang's book, and it's interesting to mention. The mere presence of a smartphone or device, even when it's not being used, alters our inner world and our connection with others. That's wicked fucked up. And you can't rest without regularly disconnecting from your device. I want you right now to think about how long you're away from your device during the day. People bring their phone to the bathroom with them. People shower with their phone. And if you're laughing like, who showers with their phone? I bet there's a large percentage of people that shower with their cell phone, okay? I know that's a fact. So if you can't give up your cell phone to shower or take a shit, it pretty much means you're dragging it everywhere you go. So how the fuck are you going to detach from it so you can rest? And then that statement about the mere presence of a smartphone or a device, even when it's not being used, alters our connection with others. Crazy. And I'll tell you, some of the best conversations I've had in the last couple of weeks, there were no cell phones in the vicinity. I had a 2-hour conversation and two 2-hour conversations. One was one-on-one and one was 3 people. And they were amazing conversations. They felt amazing. I felt so connected when I left. I felt a great sense of energy when I left. And now that I'm thinking about it, they were probably so great because my device was nowhere to be found. And when your mind switches from wondering what the next alert on your phone is to the people in front of you, life looks completely fucking different. And I think that's a big place where we're all missing as human beings. So my biggest pursuit right now, and probably forever in the future, is to rid myself of this fucking phone. It's going to be hard. But people are just going to have to learn to live on those terms with me. I can't do it anymore with this fucking thing. It's so stressful. And if anybody's ever watched any documentaries about the social engineering behind all these apps and things like that, they're designed to addict you. Your phone will literally send you an alert if you've been inactive so that it gets you to pick it up. All right, that's all been proven. If you don't believe me, do the fucking research. All right, so get rid of your device. Commandment number 7. Take a week off every season. So this is really interesting. The happiness and relaxation we feel on vacation peaks after about a week, while the psychological benefits of a vacation last up to 2 months. So the ideal vacation schedule is to take a week off every 3 months. You can gain energy after a vacation, and you can gain resilience. So right now, think about when your last vacation was. All right. And if it was within 3 months, right? It was a vacation every 3 months. Schedule something. Take a week off every 3 months. I did the same exercise the other day when I was reading this chapter, and couldn't remember my last vacation. And my wife did, of course. She's much better with all those types of things. And then the vacation I did take was in May to go do that speech. So that was more work than it was fun. And then the previous vacation before that, I was on a work trip to Mexico in March. So March, then May, okay, but the May one was, let's say, a lot of work and confronted a lot of fears. Amazing trip, but took a lot out of me. And now we're in August. So it sounds like I'm due for another week's vacation. So when I get to the office tomorrow, I'm going to see if I can schedule that. And I suggest to all of you to do the same thing. And I'll tell you, my psychologist, she talks about it all the time with me. We meet every 6 weeks now. And she usually always asks me, have you scheduled a vacation? And I usually ignore her. And then I start to feel like shit. And I wonder why I'm feeling like shit. And then I remember her advice. And I'll have to mention to her that in this book, states very clearly that I need to schedule a vacation. So again, all of you, think about when your last vacation was, line it up to the 3 months, and schedule accordingly. Commandment number 8, practice deep play. So whatever hobby you have, right? So for me, deep play is riding my bike, running, jiu-jitsu, working on my car, doing the podcast, stuff like that. That's my deep play. Going to the farm, feeding the animals, right? So it's very important that you schedule these things in because it will help you rest, okay? Deep play is especially important for people who don't have a lot of control over their daily schedules. People that have to work long hours, or people who love their jobs but are prone to overdoing them. For them, deep play is also valuable because it provides a more compelling alternative to work than sitting on the beach. Although, that's great for me. So, figure out, maybe it was like something you did as a kid, right? Could be a hobby, could be a sport. Whatever it is, just do it and use it to help bring more energy to your life. All right? Number 9, get plenty of exercise. Exercise, number 1, makes us more resilient, and it also helps us handle more stress. And we live longer and healthier lives. It's that simple, okay? I won't get too stuck on this one because you all know where I stand on exercise. And I've exercised my way into a rest period here, so I'm overdoing it in that regard. But hey, take a fucking yoga class, sign up for a health club, get out there, just move. Movement is the medicine, all right? You're stressed, move. You're depressed, move. You're anxious, move, all right? And then my favorite, the 10th commandment, get plenty of sleep. I don't really have to get into it very deep, but there was an interesting study that I want to read to you. And first of all, for me, I used to be that guy, being like, hey, get 6 hours, I'm fucking good. Yeah, all that bullshit. That was the worst I ever was. In fact, when I had the worst mental health problem in my life, I was sleeping 4 to 6 hours a night. All right? I'm sleeping 8+. On bad nights, it's 7 hours, 30 minutes, 7 hours, 45 minutes. Those are bad nights for me. Sleep is the fucking unlock. All right? Don't get sucked into listening to your boss fucking tell you how he sleeps 6 hours and he's fucking good, okay? It's all bullshit. That's what people want you to believe. All right. You sleep 6 hours, you're going to fucking die early. All right. You can give they say, well, this is actually proven, but any certain brain deteriorations, one of the biggest cause is lack of sleep, because there's a lot of things that are done at night that your brain does to kind of clear out toxin and different things like that during sleep. That can lower your chances of getting dementia. And, my grandmother had some dementia before she passed. And I can tell you that's a scary thing. I had to watch my mom navigate that with her mom. And my mom's not a good sleeper, and I try to tell her to sleep more. She tells me she can't, and I'm just going to keep being persistent on that. And if you're one of those people that says they can't sleep, study sleep. All right, there's a book called Why We Sleep. I can tell you, I've been studying sleep for the last 4 or 5 years now. I sleep unbelievable. I wear a sleeping mask that covers my ears. Okay, so it's a weighted sleeping mask. I used to use a regular sleeping mask, but now it's weighted. My wife helped me unlock that hack right there. A weighted sleeping mask is a game changer. It also covers my ears. I wear some earplugs, but they don't totally kill all the noise. It just kind of kills that certain noise that kind of wakes you up. Those help me stay asleep longer. I wear a mouth guard. I used to clench and grind my teeth, so I wear a mouth guard. Haven't missed a day in 4 or 5 years now. Tape my mouth shut, and to wear a nose strip. I do not wear a nose strip outside of the house, okay? I will clear that up, all right? Only when I sleep, all right? And I used to use what I call hostage tape. That's the brand that I would use, but they had a stocking problem with the nose strip, so I ended up just getting basic Breathe Right that's been around for years and years and years and years. That we all used to laugh about when we saw people wearing them. But if you've tried it, there's a benefit. So sleep is huge for me. 65 degrees in the room, all of the above, right? Super, super dark. And then one of the big key factors is I don't go in the fucking bedroom to hang out, all right? Only reason I have a bedroom is to sleep. I don't go sit on my bed to lounge. I don't do any of that. When I'm on my bed, I am going to sleep. So you have to make sure the body knows, like when it gets into these places, it knows what to do. So I've programmed my body to know that when I'm in that bed, we sleep, period. Nothing else. So there was a study done on violin students in Berlin by Anders Ericsson. He found that even though ambitious students needed an average of 10,000 hours to become world-class performers and practice more deliberately than their classmates, they also sleep an hour per day more than the average student. They take naps in the afternoon, and they're careful to get enough sleep at night. So those are high performers, right? And they're higher performers than everybody else in their group. And one of the main things was that they slept an hour more per day and they took naps. There's plenty of fucking information here to show that sleep is important. I just don't know why I always have to drive this home to people. Sleep doesn't just provide physical rest. It's actually a time of incredible mental activity, giving your brains time to consolidate memories and skills and clear out toxins that are often associated with dementia late in life. Sleep deprivation, meanwhile, increases the odds that we'll underperform, make mistakes, react emotionally, or overlook that important detail that makes the difference between a hit product and a dud. And then he goes on to talk about how professional athletes, just like they hire strength coaches, diet coaches, they hire sleep coaches now. This is a routine thing now. A lot of elite athletes are traveling with special mattresses. All right. And that is where he mentioned the detail about LeBron James sleeping 12 hours. So if you want to rest, you have to take it. You have to resist the allure of busyness. Make time for rest. Take it seriously and protect it from a world that is intent on stealing it. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Have a great night. and crush fucking Monday, because I'm back to it. And I hope I have a great update for you next week. Love y'all. We'll see you.